Hi there, my name is Taylor Sipos and I'm a registered physiotherapist at the Orthopedic Therapy Clinic in downtown Toronto. And what we'll be going through today is my golf ready class that I like to teach for people who are looking to get back onto the golf course. I generally like to make this video, right around kind of early springtime to give people a few weeks of being able to do some exercises to get their backs healthy and to get them feeling like they're going to be healthy throughout their golf season, in particular the low back. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. So unfortunately with golf, you do put a lot of stress through your low back, and when you are doing a golf swing, if you're not using the proper mechanics, it can increase that load onto the low back and create pain. So a lot of people that I see here at the clinic, they'll get lots of pain either during a swing itself or pain after a round of golf. With golf and with the golf swing, there's sort of three main things I like to kind of optimize for people to improve their golf swing. One is to improve their core strength, and in particular their rotational core strength. So when you take a golf swing, you're rotating through your spine quite a bit, so having good stability into your lower back is really important. So we want to really focus on that rotational type stability to help you with your golf swing. Additionally, with the golf swing, you really want to be mobile in select areas, and those are the areas that are adjacent to your lumbar spine. So that would be your thoracic spine, so your mid-back, and your hips as well too. So if we go back into that golf swing position, we'll first look at the trunk and the mid-back. When I take my backswing here, a lot of that's going through my rib cage and my mid-back. Same thing with my follow through. Now with my hips, if you watch my left hip here, as I lean back and kind of go to my backswing, you can see how my thigh rolls inwards. So we really want to work on what's called hip internal rotation. That's where your thigh is rotating inwards and your hip is rotating inwards. So again, on my backswing, you can really see that rotation. And then even on my follow through, I do externally rotate my hip, so it rotates outwards. But then my follow through, as I shift my weight, I go back into that internal rotation position. So it's important for both the backswing and your follow through. And then if we look at the right side, again, I'm getting a little bit of internal rotation on my right, and then I'm really following through into that internal rotation on my follow through. So you can see how it's important to mobilize both the mid-back and the hips as well too. So we'll go through all three of those. So lumbar spine, rotational stability, thoracic mobility, and hip mobility. So we'll start with the lumbar spine rotational stability, and what we'll go through first is called a bent knee fallout. So for this exercise, what you're gonna do is have a lay down just on your back here. You can just kind of support yourself with your arms or with a pillow. And what you're gonna think about doing is you're thinking about the two bones that are on the front of your pelvis, and you wanna think about the positioning of these bones as you go through this exercise. What you're gonna do is let one knee drop towards the ground. And as you're doing that, you're trying to make sure that those two pelvic bones that stick out are remaining in the same position. What you don't want to do is as it drops out, you start to let your back roll towards the side that you're moving towards. So if I was doing it correctly, both those pelvic bones would be remaining still. If I wasn't controlling with my core and my rotational support system, what would happen is that I would really kind of roll over like so. So my left pelvic bone is dropping down, my right pelvic bone is dropping up or popping up. A way to control this is to do a slight transverse abdominis contraction. So that's where you're thinking about just tightening that area between those two pelvic bones. And as you do that tightening, it makes it much easier to control that motion. So this is what we call a bent knee fallout. Again, really just try to control the pelvic position as you do that there. And that's a great way to start with your rotational support. But one way that you can progress this into something a little bit more functional is by doing what's called a Palloff press exercise. So what that entails is using a TheraBand, which I have off the camera right now, and attaching it to something about waist height. So let me grab the band here. So you can see my neon green band here. It's just attached to the doorknob adjacent to me. And the way the Palloff press works is that right now the band, and I'm standing sort of parallel with the band. It's trying to rotate me towards the band. So as I'm in this position, I can feel a little bit of tension building up into my oblique muscles and my core muscles. So I'm already putting a little bit of strain on those rotational stabilization muscles. To make it more challenging, what I'm gonna do is bring my arm out to create a longer lever arm, and now I can really feel a bit of a burn into those muscles. It's really trying to pull me into that rotation position. But with this exercise, what you're trying to do is you're trying to keep your torso facing forward. You're trying to resist that rotational pull that the band is putting on you. And you're just going back and forth. Again, feeling a lot more challenge as you bring your arms out a little bit more. So doing it in a standing, shoulder width apart position is a great way to start, but you can really progress this one as well too. So you can go into a more unstable position, doing feet together. You can go into what's called a split squat position, make it really functional. And another one that you can do is taking your lower body out of the equation and doing it what's called a tall kneeling position. So again, this makes you rely less on your lower body and really increases the challenge into those core muscles here. So again, that's what's called a pal-off press. You can kind of work through that progression. So starting facing forward, then to more unstable positions, and then working on a tall kneel position would be great. And that would be that's your lumbar spine rotational support exercises. So that covers the core element of the Golf Ready class. Now we also want to work on the mid-back mobility and the hip mobility. So I'll teach you a couple of exercises for each of those. So the first one for your thoracic mobility, it's called a sideline thoracic rotation stretch. So what you would do is lay on your side, and you're gonna think about bringing your knees nice and close to your chest here. And then what you're gonna do is have your bottom hand holding your knees down, and then your right hand is gonna be on your chest. And what you wanna think about doing is just rotating your trunk towards the opposite side of your legs, and kind of using that top hand to sort of pull your trunk down a little bit more. And as you do that, you should just be feeling a nice gentle stretch into your mid-back. To progress this one, what you can do is let that top hand open up, and you can really get a good stretch as your arm comes out here, and you would let it drop all the way down. So again, just a great way to help open up your mid-back as you do that there. Another option to open up your thoracic rotation mobility is to work on what's called a half kneel thoracic rotation stretch. So for this one, what you would do is adopt that half kneel position. So one leg back, one leg forward. You want to have your front leg further away from the wall here. And then what you're doing is arms out like this, and then you're just opening up your outside hand, almost like you're opening up a book, and you're trying to stretch back to that opposite wall. You're trying to keep that front leg in. You don't want to kind of swing out like that, because then you'll be moving through your low back a little bit too much. By keeping that right knee forward, you'll ensure that you're moving through your mid back. And again, we're trying to open up that mid back, unlock its mobility. A little tip with this one, sometimes when I teach people this, they really rotate quite a bit with their neck, which can cause a little bit of pain. Keeping your chin in line with your sternum is a great way to ensure that you're moving through the mid back and not the neck as much. So again, this is a really nice gentle stretch to help out with that one. So those are your two options for your thoracic mobility. So you've got the sideline and the half kneel approach. And then finally, we really want to open up the hips as well too. Having good mobile hips is such an important thing for golf. Can really help with back pain, hip pain, knee pain, lots of lower body issues that can arise from golf. So I'll teach you two types of stretches for that one. So the first one's called the windshield wiper. And what you're gonna do for this one is laying back on your back. You're gonna have both knees bent and nice and spread out. Give yourself lots of room for this one. What you wanna think about doing is keeping your knees bent. You're just letting both of them drop to the floor here. So right now, my left hip is in what's called external rotation. It's rotated outwards. And my right hip is in what's called internal rotation. And going back to that golf swing that I demonstrated, this is the one we really want to focus on. So really focus on that inner knee that's dropping towards the ground. Less focus on the knee that's moving to the outside. And then again, you'd work on both sides here. So now I'm really focusing on my left thigh moving into what's called internal rotation. And again, this is just a very nice basic stretch to help out with that hip mobility. Now, as you get more comfortable with this one, what you can do is add a little bit of an extra stretch. So let's say I'm rotating towards the left. So my left thigh is in what's called external rotation. My right thigh is in internal rotation. What I'm gonna do is use my left foot to bring my right hip into a little bit more internal rotation. So just increasing that stretch a little bit more. And hold for about 5-10 seconds. Then I would switch sides. Now I've got my left thigh in internal rotation. I'm gonna bring my right leg over and pull it into a little bit more internal rotation. I'd recommend starting by just working on that nice, easy windshield washer motion, and then progressing it to having a little bit more of that pressure, and that'll help open up your hips for your golf swing. So those are the three main things that you want to focus on for improving your low back pain when you get back to your golf season. So again, lumbar rotational stability, thoracic rotational mobility, and hip mobility. So give those exercises a try. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, and for more content related to our program, you can come back to our YouTube channel at any time.